There's one moment from yesterday's game that changed everything. Not a missed throw, not a blown coverage, not even the final score. It was a quiet, almost unbelievable detail that happened in real time on national television with the entire football world watching. And once fans saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Shedeur Sanders walked onto the field at Soldier Field, wearing the wrong wristband. That's not speculation, that confirmed. A Fox sideline report caught it live. The Browns removed his play-calling wristband after the first quarter. They didn't adjust it. They didn't tweak it. They swapped it out completely. And what happened next stunned everyone watching because in that moment the rookie quarterback looked completely lost. Sanders ran to the sideline searching for answers. He burned time. He got flagged for delay of game. The broadcast booth went quiet, then confused, then uncomfortable. This wasn't supposed to happen, not to a starting quarterback, not in an NFL game, not in front of millions. And here's the part that made fans freeze. When asked about it afterward, Kevin Stefanski didn't sound angry. He didn't sound concerned. He didn't even sound specific. He brushed it off with a vague explanation, saying there was a miscommunication early, that something got on the wristband or whatever it was, and that they fixed it pretty quickly. Something on it, or whatever it was. Those words lit the internet on fire within minutes. Fans didn't hear an explanation. They heard a dodge. They heard uncertainty. And they heard a head coach struggling to explain how his starting quarterback ended up on the field without the right information. But what made this moment even stranger was what Stefanski said. It was what Shedeur Sanders said next. Standing at the podium after one of the worst performances of his young career, Sanders repeated the same explanation almost word for word. The card just fell out. That was it. Calm, controlled, no frustration, no confusion, just a clean, rehearsed response that matched his head coach perfectly. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay locked in on all the latest NFL drama, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the video reach more people who love this content just like you. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another update, reaction, or storyline as it unfolds in real time. I also want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' performance and the Browns' collapse? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it. And don't forget to share this video with friends who follow the NFL. Your support truly keeps the channel moving forward. Some fans saw that as unity. Others saw it as something else entirely. Because this wasn't just a bad game. It wasn't just cold weather or rookie mistakes. It ended in a 31-3 loss, 3 interceptions, 5 sacks, and visible confusion that didn't match the box score. And suddenly, fans weren't asking what went wrong on the field. They were asking what went wrong behind the scenes. Social media exploded. Accusations flew. Words like sabotage and setup trended for hours. And whether you agree with those reactions or think they go too far, one thing became impossible to ignore. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was the latest moment in a pattern that started long before Shedeur Sanders ever took an NFL snap. A pattern filled with strange decisions, missed opportunities, and explanations that never quite lined up. And the wristband in Chicago wasn't just a mistake. To many fans, it looked like the moment the mask finally slipped. And once you see the full timeline, you'll understand why this one detail has people questioning everything they thought they knew about Shedeur Sanders' situation in Cleveland. It happened in Chicago, in freezing temperatures, on one of the most unforgiving fields in football. Soldier Field has a reputation for chaos, for bad footing, for games that spiral quickly. But what unfolded here wasn't weather-related, and it wasn't just another rookie struggling on the road. It was something far more basic, and far more alarming. Early in the game, cameras caught Shedeur Sanders looking toward the sideline, not for a signal or an adjustment, but for help. Not the normal quick glance every quarterback makes. This was different. This was confusion. He jogged over, clearly searching for direction. Seconds ticked off the play clock. No play came in. The whistle blew. Delay of game. That's when the Fox broadcast, dropped the detail that changed the entire conversation. Sideline reporter Allison Williams confirmed it live. The Browns had removed Shedeur Sanders' play-calling wristband after the first quarter. Not adjusted it, removed it. They swapped the sheet entirely. For casual viewers, that might sound minor. For anyone who understands how NFL offenses operate, it was stunning. That wristband isn't just a cheat sheet. It's the entire system. It's how plays are communicated, confirmed, and executed at speed, especially for a rookie quarterback. And yet, Sanders was on the field without the correct information. The result was immediate and visible. He hesitated. He looked unsure. He ran back and forth between the huddle and the sideline. The broadcast booth fell silent, then awkwardly tried to piece together what they were seeing in real time. This wasn't a blown route or a misread defense. This was a quarterback who didn't know what play he was supposed to run. That almost never happens at this level. NFL teams spend entire weeks preparing play sheets. Multiple coaches check them. Quarterbacks review them constantly. For a starting QB to walk onto the field with the wrong wristband, and for it to last long enough to cause penalties, is nearly unheard of. And that's where the questions started. How did it happen? When was it noticed? And why did it take a delay of game on national television for anyone to intervene? After the game, Kevin Stefanski was asked directly. His response didn't bring clarity. It did the opposite. He said there was a miscommunication early, that something got on the wristband or whatever it was, and that they fixed it pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. Fans replayed the footage. They watched Sanders scramble for answers. They counted the confusion, the wasted time, the penalty, and pretty quickly didn't seem to match what everyone else had just watched unfold. Because this wasn't a quiet equipment issue handled on the sideline. This was a breakdown that disrupted the offense, rattled a young quarterback, and altered the rhythm of the entire game. And as strange as that moment was on its own, it became even harder to dismiss once people started asking a different question. If this could happen here, in this moment, what else had been happening behind the scenes all along? And that's when the story stopped being about a wristband and started becoming something much bigger. What made the wristband situation linger wasn't just the mistake itself. It was how quickly the story around it hardened into a single, polished explanation. After the loss, Kevin Stefanski stepped to the podium first. His tone was calm, measured, almost dismissive. He didn't express frustration or urgency. He didn't describe a breakdown in communication or accountability. Instead, he summarized the entire situation with a few vague phrases, insisting it was handled quickly and that there was nothing more to it. Then Shedeur Sanders walked in. Fresh off a rough night, facing questions about interceptions, sacks, and confusion that played out on live television, Sanders didn't push back. He didn't sound frustrated. He didn't say he was caught off guard. He didn't explain how disorienting it felt to be missing key information. He simply echoed the same explanation. The card just fell out. Almost word for word, it matched his head coach's account. To some, that looked like professionalism, a rookie protecting his team, a quarterback staying composed under pressure. But to others, it raised immediate eyebrows, because the explanation didn't fit what everyone had just watched. Cards don't simply fall out and cause that level of confusion. Wristbands aren't decorative. They're secured, checked, and rechecked. And even if something went wrong, it doesn't explain why a starting quarterback appeared unaware of what to call, long enough to burn the play clock and draw a penalty. Fans noticed the alignment instantly. Clips circulated online comparing the two statements side by side. The phrasing, the tone, the lack of detail, it all felt unusually synchronized, and that's when speculation started to creep in. Some fans believed the messaging showed unity, that the coach and quarterback were finally on the same page, refusing to feed the media frenzy. But others weren't convinced. They argued the responses sounded rehearsed, designed to minimize a mistake that couldn't be fully explained without raising uncomfortable questions. And those questions didn't stop at the wristband. Why wasn't there visible frustration from a competitor known for his confidence? Why did Sanders accept the explanation so cleanly when the moment itself was so chaotic? And why did Stefanski seem more interested in downplaying the incident than acknowledging how serious it was? Social media reactions poured in, not just from fans, but from analysts and former players who couldn't remember a similar situation happening to a starting quarterback. The phrase damage control started trending alongside Sanders' name. Others went further, claiming the situation felt like an attempt to quietly move past something that should have never happened in the first place. To be clear, none of that proves intent. No one has concrete evidence that the messaging was coordinated. But perception matters, especially in a league where trust between quarterback and coach is everything. And that trust, at least publicly, began to look fragile. Because when explanations feel incomplete, people don't stop asking questions. They start digging. And once fans began connecting this moment to earlier decisions, earlier patterns, and earlier controversies, the wristband incident stopped being a one-off mistake. It started to feel like another chapter in a story that had been quietly building for months. Before the wristband, before the Chicago fiasco, before the social media outrage, Shedeur Sanders' NFL journey had already begun under circumstances that would test any quarterback, especially a rookie. Week 11 of the season, against the Baltimore Ravens, should have been a celebration. It should have been a debut marked by preparation, anticipation, and excitement. Instead, it became a harsh introduction to a system that seemed to offer him little support. Dillon Gabriel, the starting quarterback, entered concussion protocol at halftime. The stadium erupted as Shedeur jogged onto the field to start the second half. Huntington Bank Field shook with the roar of fans, a wall of sound that felt like it could carry the team to victory. Every chant seemed to call him a savior, a fresh hope, the answer to years of disappointment. But what nobody knew, not even the fans screaming his name, was that he had never taken a snap with the starting unit before that moment. Not in practice, not in walkthroughs, never. The first ball he threw to his number one receiver, Jerry Jeudy, wasn't a familiar rhythm. It was their first connection all season. A rookie quarterback thrown into a live NFL game with zero in-game chemistry. That's the context that most people missed when they watched the broadcast. The result, predictable but devastating. Shedeur finished 4 for 16, just 47 yards passing, 1 interception, and a passer rating that felt historically low for a debut. Comparisons immediately appeared on social media. Brandon Weeden's 2012 debut, the worst in recent memory. Fans weren't outraged at the lack of preparation. They weren't asking why the organization had never run snaps with their rookie quarterback. Instead, the narrative quickly shifted to the rookie himself. Could he handle the NFL? Was he ready? Could he ever live up to the hype? It was a story that ignored the context, but it was the story that stuck. And yet, within this failure lay a glimmer of resilience. Shedeur showed flashes of composure despite being thrown into a situation no one would wish on a seasoned veteran. His poise under pressure, though overshadowed by the mistakes, hinted at potential that hadn't yet been unlocked, a potential made more frustrating because it had been set up to fail. The media took snapshots of the errors, the turnovers, and the incomplete passes, framing a narrative that focused on inadequacy rather than circumstance. Fans who wanted to see him succeed were left shaking their heads, questioning the coaching decisions that put him in such an impossible situation. Analysts debated endlessly. Was this a rookie's fault, or was it a failure of the organization? The reality was clear to those paying attention. Shedeur Sanders had been launched into the NFL spotlight without preparation, without guidance, and without the in-game experience that every other starting quarterback relies on. That debut wasn't just difficult. It was a blueprint for the scrutiny, doubt, and controversy that would follow him for the rest of the season. And yet, even in that defeat, something shifted. It wasn't visible on the stat sheet. It wasn't noted in the press releases. But the rookie had experienced the worst-case scenario and survived it. And what came next would force everyone, from coaches to fans, to confront what they had underestimated all along. The following week, Shedeur Sanders got his first official start. Las Vegas, a hostile road environment, fans expecting failure. And yet, what happened on the field that day was nothing short of historic. The Browns were underdogs in every sense. The rookie quarterback had 0 first-team snaps until that Wednesday practice. His chemistry with receivers was still being built, his timing with the offensive line tentative. And yet, when the ball was snapped, something clicked. Against all odds, he led the team to a 24-10 victory. The first Browns rookie quarterback to win a debut start since 1995. 3 decades of futility, seemingly erased under his arm. The crowd erupted. The stadium shook. Social media lit up with excitement, praise, and disbelief. Analysts called it one of the most impressive rookie performances in recent memory. And Shedeur's poise, impeccable. Calm in the pocket, accurate on throws, showing an instinctive ability to read defenses that most rookies can only dream of. But off the field, the story was different. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, handled the post-game locker room in a way that immediately drew attention. The most basic recognition, the game ball, went not to Shedeur Sanders, but to Myles Garrett for his 3-sack performance. Shedeur was mentioned briefly, with a muted "nice job, Shedeur. Well done." And that was it. No fanfare, no celebration of a historic achievement, no acknowledgement of the obstacles he had overcome just to succeed that day. Sports commentators were stunned. Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson called it disrespectful on air. They pointed out the facts: 0 first-team reps until Wednesday, a hostile road environment, historic rookie victory. And still, no proper recognition. Fans quickly labeled it Gameball Gate, a controversy that exploded across Twitter and X within hours. Theories started to swirl. Some argued that Stefanski never wanted Shedeur to succeed, that the organization may have been setting him up to fail to justify moving on or drafting someone else. Others saw it as simple oversight or a conservative approach to rookie management. But the optics were undeniable. A rookie quarterback delivers a historic win and receives only a passing acknowledgement, while a veteran player claims the spotlight. The narrative wasn't just about Shedeur's performance. It became about the organization, the optics, and the pattern of treatment that had started long before the Chicago wristband incident. Fans began connecting dots: the lack of first-team reps, the rushed debut, muted recognition, and now this, painting a picture that was difficult to ignore. Yet, despite all the controversy, Shedeur Sanders remained composed, calm, focused. He didn't complain. He didn't push back. He let his play do the talking, and it had already spoken louder than words ever could. But the story didn't end with the win. Because while the victory should have cemented his place, it instead amplified the questions. Why wasn't he celebrated? Why did recognition go elsewhere? And how could a rookie perform so brilliantly under impossible circumstances and still be overshadowed by organizational decisions? That day, Shedeur Sanders won on the field. Off it, the controversy grew. And the questions raised during that locker room moment would haunt him and the organization for weeks to come. Just when it seemed like Shedeur Sanders' story had peaked, Week 14 arrived, and with it, a performance that forced the entire league to sit up and take notice. The Browns faced the Tennessee Titans, and expectations were tempered. Some doubted he could handle another big game. Some doubted the offense could support him. But what unfolded was nothing short of extraordinary. Shedeur threw for 364 yards, hitting 3 touchdowns through the air. He rushed for another score. In doing so, he became only the second rookie in the Super Bowl era to post over 350 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in the same game. The only other player to achieve that feat, Joe Burrow against the Browns, no less, in 2020. Context matters. History was being written, and Shedeur was the author. The stadium erupted. The energy was electric. Every throw, every scramble, every perfectly timed pass seemed to carry not just points on the board, but vindication for a young quarterback who had been doubted from day one. Fans, analysts, and former players alike were stunned. It wasn't just the statistics. It was how composed he was under pressure, how effortlessly he navigated a complex NFL defense. But the game wasn't just a triumph of skill. It was a moment of raw emotion. Deion Sanders, standing on the sidelines, leaned into his son in disbelief, asking, "You okay?" The scene was captured on camera, a rare glimpse of vulnerability from a Hall of Famer known for his composure. Even someone of Coach Prime's legendary confidence seemed overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. Off the field, the reaction was just as intense. Jamie Foxx, known for his love of football and his larger-than-life presence on social media, posted hype videos praising Shedeur, calling out critics, and channeling his Willie Beeman energy from any given Sunday. His message was clear. If you hate Shedeur Sanders, you hate football. Yet even with the momentum undeniable, the Browns faltered in the most critical moment. 2 failed 2-point conversions, the first one with Shedeur on the field, the second, a trick play called by Kevin Stefanski that removed him entirely from the action. The game slipped away 31-29. And just like that, the narrative shifted again. Fans weren't just celebrating a historic performance. They were asking the hard questions. Why was a quarterback who had just dominated standing on the sidelines for a pivotal play? Why wasn't the most productive player of the game involved in the moment that could define the season? Stefanski's response: "Sometimes things do not work out, only deepen the mystery." The optics screamed controversy. Was it incompetence or something more deliberate? Regardless of intent, the performance had forced the league to pay attention, and the optics ensured that Shedeur Sanders' story would no longer be confined to stats and box scores. This was more than a game. It was proof of his talent, proof that he could perform at the highest level under extreme pressure, and proof that, despite extraordinary ability, the environment around him remained unpredictable, mysterious, and potentially hostile. The league had noticed. The fans had noticed. And now the world was left to wonder, could Shedeur Sanders navigate not just defenses, but an organization that might not fully support him? If Week 14 had cemented Shedeur Sanders' status as a rising star, the final moments of that Tennessee game threw everything back into question. The Browns were down by 2 points, the clock winding down, the entire stadium holding its breath. One play could have defined the season, and the quarterback who had carried the team to that point. Kevin Stefanski made the call, a trick play, a running back throwing across the field. Not only was it unconventional, but it also completely removed Shedeur from the moment that could have been his crowning achievement. The rookie, fresh off a historic.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.